One of the longest tenured high school boys basketball coaches in the Wabash Valley is returning once again to the sidelines next season. Longtime Sullivan head coach Jeff Moore is not ready to hang it up. Moore had contemplated retirement, thinking about it after the season for several weeks, but told Sports 10 today he's not ready to give it up because he's still in love with Indiana high school basketball. This past season, Moore picked up his 500th career win. He's just the 35th Indiana high school boys basketball coach to ever reach the 500 milestone. In 33 years at Sullivan, Moore is 510 and 280. He's won 10 sectionals, 4 regional titles, along with 13 conference championships. Indiana State football is 15 practices into their spring ball with just 5 left, including their annual spring game next Saturday, April 29th. Spring practice is a time for players to get better, work on their individual game, learn the system more. It's also a time when coaches can coach more. During the season, they only have so much time to get the Sycamores ready to play for games each week. One thing head coach Kurt Mallory has been focused on is his team playing hard but under control.
The expectation is to lead the country in the fewest amount of penalties. That's what we did a year ago. We got to execute better. If you do that, do the things that take no talent, not react after a play. I understand we're playing hard, but you got to cut it off and go to the next play.
We have a busy night for sports in the Wabash Valley. Tonight at 11 on Night Watch, we'll have action from the Terre Haute North, Terre Haute South track meet, home baseball games at West Vigo and Northview, plus the big college baseball showdown between number 22 ISU and 4th ranked Vandy. That is it for sports. We'll have more news after the break.
Well, I started here. I moved back here to be closer to my family and just found that I really enjoy working with the team here. It's a great team. It's very challenging, but it's also really rewarding.
Grow your career today with Amcor.
Hey Wabash Valley, this is Max Watson, General Manager from Terre Haute Kia. Right now, upgrade to a new Kia for less, with pre-pandemic deals and super low rates during the spring savings event at Terre Haute Kia. Stuck in your loan or lease? Terre Haute Kia wants to get you released. For a limited time, get $1,000 over book value for any trade. Drive home a new 2023 Sportage SUV for just $249 a month. Lower prices, exceptional trade-in values, and a better buying experience at Terre Haute Kia.
At Fuson Automotive, we've been locally owned for over 100 years. 100 years of local employment, 100 years of local trust, and still home of the most affordable full synthetic oil change in town, only $39.95. We want to hear you say, I fixed it at Fuson.
It's the biggest sale of the season at Furniture Row, so get ready because everything is on sale. Save on living, dining, and bedroom, like this unbeatable deal on the Wrangler sofa, only $5.99. Save big on the Jordan Queen bed, only $4.49. Get the 5-piece colors dining set for only $4.49. And check out the queen size Summit Firm for only $332.49. Plus 3 years, no interest financing. The biggest sale of the season, on now at Furniture Row.
A local teacher has won a statewide award for computer science education. Maria Sellers is the computer science teacher at South Vermilion Middle School. She won the first ever Next Tech Computer Science Teacher of the Year award in Indiana.
The award goes to a teacher who seeks out opportunities for more students to be involved in computer science. The teacher has to focus on unique ways to extend students' learning beyond the classroom. Sellers says winning the award wouldn't have happened without her students.
In my opinion, I'm not the star. It's my students who embrace computer science and go all out that become the stars. So by me providing opportunity, we're definitely doing what we should be here.
Sellers will officially receive the award this weekend in Indianapolis. Congratulations.
Yes, well deserved.
For her. All right, now let's take a look at tonight's Dorset Automotive Weather Quiz, brought to you by Dorset Hyundai. What is the latest recorded date of springtime frost in Terre Haute? May 27th, 1961, May 15th, 1979, or May 13th, 1975?
I have no clue.
Let's
go
big.
With
May 5th. Oh, go big? May 27th. Oh, no. Is that
Tricked
what you mean?
It's
May 27th?
Yeah, May 27th.
Oh, wow.
Can you believe that? It'd be rotten to have a garden way back then. Of course, neither one of you was around at that time. I, however, was
61.
just a
That's
little
close.
I was just a little tot. back in 1961. All right, now tonight's forecast, 45, so not nearly as cold as it was last night. So we're not going to have frost tonight, down to about 45 for the overnight low tonight. And then for tomorrow, a high of 79, but breezy tomorrow. And a breezy night tomorrow night, an overnight low of 58. And then we get into Thursday, especially later in the afternoon and Thursday night, the possibility of some rain and storms. And of course, Storm Team 10 will be here in case the storms get a little stronger.
Frustrated with the weekend forecast.
Yes.
We got to get out of this pattern.
Up, down.
Well, I'll do what I can.
Yeah, work on that. All right, that's it for News 10. Thank you so much for joining us.
Be sure and get the very latest by joining us tonight on My Fox 10 and on News 10 Night Watch. Have a great evening.
For the most local news, every newscast, every day, you can depend on News 10. Coverage you can count on.
Gothamites have a new generation of protectors.
Their new heroes are also their most wanted fugitives.
You almost revealed yourself to the entire world. I had it under control.
I might be pregnant.
How?
Clark.
We have to stick together.
I'll be there as soon as I can.
Superman and Lois, Gotham Knights. New episodes tonight at 8/7 Central, only on the CW.
Who values an Ivy Tech Community College Associate degree? Well, these Indiana colleges do. They're our partners in the Guaranteed Admissions Program, where an Ivy Tech Associate degree guarantees admission to their bachelor's programs. Who else? The 70,000 high school students who earn college credit each year and save tuition by doing it. But the real value of an Ivy Tech degree is the better life it makes possible. Get started today at ivytech.edu.
Become Workforce Fit. Visit workonewest.com today.
Tonight, the breaking news, the bombshell settlement. Fox News agrees to pay nearly $800 million for lies told about the 2020 election. Here are tonight's headlines.
Fox has admitted to telling lies about Dominion.
Just moments before one of the most consequential media trials was set to begin, Fox chooses to avoid testimony by Rupert Murdoch and its top stars.
The truth matters.
In Lower Manhattan, a parking garage has collapsed. 6 workers were inside. One of those workers has died, 5 others rescued.
The 84-year-old man accused of shooting a teenager who rang the wrong doorbell is now in police custody, as Ralph Yarl's mother speaks to CBS News.
He got a couple of bullets in his body instead of a couple of twins coming up out and giving him a hug.
Last week's floods have led to a fuel distribution problem across parts of South Florida.
Hit one gas station, hit 2 gas stations. Gas station number 7 got here, no gas.
If I didn't decide to keep fighting, I wouldn't be here today.
Kids and mental health, what parents can do to help combat America's growing crisis.
Overwhelmingly, teenagers are just looking for empathy.
And 3 months after suffering cardiac arrest, Damar Hamlin is cleared to play football again.
This event was life-changing, but it's not the end of my story.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us as we're coming to you tonight from New York City. We begin with some breaking news in one of the most consequential media trials in decades, the $1.6 billion defamation case against Fox News. Late this afternoon, the judge announcing a settlement was reached between Dominion Voting Systems and the cable media giant. The CEO of the voting machine company says Fox has admitted to telling lies about the Dominion company and has agreed to pay nearly $800 million to settle the case. Fox said in a statement, quote, "We acknowledge the court's rulings finding certain claims about Dominion to be false." That's not a direct admission of guilt, but Fox is seeking to avoid the embarrassment and the media circus of having its top stars and executives appear on the witness stand. CBS's Scott McFarland starts us off tonight from outside the courthouse. What a day, what a twist. Good evening, Scott.
Nora, this was a true last-minute settlement. Just after opening statements were set to begin, Judge Eric Davis announced to the court the parties have resolved their case. A blockbuster settlement averting a potentially landmark trial.
The truth matters.
Lawyers for Dominion Voting Systems celebrated their settlement with Fox News this afternoon, announcing the company would pay Dominion more than $787 million.
Today's settlement of $787,500,000 represents vindication and accountability. Lies have consequences. The truth does not know red or blue.
Dominion had been seeking $1.6 billion in damages from Fox for defamation, arguing the company knew the claims of election fraud aired by their guests and some of their hosts were false and aired them anyway.
An update on Dominion.
Damaging Dominion's reputation and business in the process. Dominion CEO John Polis.
Fox has admitted to telling lies about Dominion that caused enormous damage to my company, our employees, and the customers that we serve. Nothing can ever make up for that. Truthful reporting in the media is essential to our democracy.
Attorneys for Fox left the courthouse without comment. In a statement, the company did not apologize, though they acknowledged the court found some of Fox's claims about Dominion to be false. With the settlement, Fox News now avoids a 6-week trial.
Fox settled pretty clearly to avoid the public humiliation of having to send all of their top talent as well as their top executives into the courtroom. I think they saw the strength of Dominion's case.
Dominion's attorneys wouldn't say whether there was anything else in the settlement besides money.
Money is accountability, and we got that today from Fox.
The trouble isn't over for Fox. Another voting system company, Smartmatic, who Fox News hosts allege was part of an effort to rig the 2020 election for Joe Biden, has also sued for defamation and seeking $2.7 billion. Experts say that too could end in a settlement and potentially a larger sum. Nora?
Scott McFarland, thank you very much. And there's more breaking news from right here in New York City. At least one person has died and several others were injured after a parking garage partially collapsed in Lower Manhattan late this afternoon. Emergency crews arrived on the scene within minutes of frantic search for victims. CBS's Lilia Luciano is there.
5-7 Ann Street between William and Nassau. An explosion in a parking garage was collapsed.
Late today, dozens of New York City firefighters rushed to Lower Manhattan after a 4-story parking garage collapsed, sending cars crashing down to the basement.
It did sound like a bomb going off, like something like a little explosion that happened because the whole ceiling, from what I've been told, completely fell down. Yeah.
Authorities say 6 workers were inside the building. 4 were taken to the hospital.
This was an extremely dangerous operation for our firefighters. We had firefighters inside the building conducting searches. The building was continuing to collapse.
Firefighters used a drone and robotic dogs to search for survivors over concerns the rest of the building could fall.
This building is completely unstable, and the chief, we do not want to send in someone until we can make sure the building is shored up.
Nearby Pace University was also evacuated and classes were canceled. Crews and investigators will continue working through the night to find answers, but authorities say they believe everybody is outside of the building. Nora.
Lilia Luciano, thank you very much. The 84-year-old Kansas City man accused of shooting a black teenager after he accidentally went to the wrong home to pick up his younger brothers has surrendered to police. Andrew Lester faces 2 felony charges for using his .32 revolver to shoot the 16-year-old twice last Thursday. CBS's Adriana Diaz is in Kansas City, Missouri, with the latest on Yarl's recovery.
Today, Ralph Yarl's classmates marched in solidarity and support. Ralph's mother, Cleo Nagby, says her son is recovering from being shot in the head and arm.
Mostly he just sits there and stares, and the buckets of tears just rolls down his eyes. You can see that he's just replaying the situation over and over again.
Andrew Lester faces 2 felony counts, armed criminal action and first-degree assault. According to the criminal complaint, the 84-year-old told police he had just laid down in bed when he heard the doorbell. He picked up his gun and said he saw a black male approximately 6 feet tall at the door, telling detectives he was, quote, scared to death due to the male's size and Lester's old age. The complaint says Lester repeatedly expressed concern for the victim. Ralph went to an address on this road. This is Northeast 115th Street, when in fact his little brothers were just a block down. You see that green street sign there? That's Northeast 115th Terrace, just about 100 yards away. Ralph's family says as he was trying to get help, someone yelled at him to get on his knees and raise his hands.
And all we hear is a bunch of banging at our door.
In his first television interview, Zach Dovell, who lives across the street, says he and his mother went to help.
There was blood from where he was at, all the way up, all over the door.
Dovell says he is still replaying that night in his head.
You hear about these things on the news over time, and then when it really happens to you, it's a life changer.
When you have images of Ralph, what do you see?
I see fear.
You saw fear in his eyes?
I saw fear in his eyes.
The demonstrations continue this evening, and today, 5 days after the shooting, Andrew Lester surrendered before bonding out. Nora, this afternoon, Ralph's family told us they want equal justice, the same treatment any victim deserves, no matter their race.
Yes, and it comes as Ralph Yarl's family says that the GoFundMe for medical expenses has now surpassed $3 million. Adriana Diaz, thank you so much. In another disturbing case, a homeowner in upstate New York has been charged with second-degree murder after he allegedly opened fire on a car that pulled into the wrong driveway on Saturday night. Police say 65-year-old Kevin Monahan shot and killed 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis after she and her friends got lost while looking for another friend's house. Monahan faces up to life in prison if convicted. Now to some fuel frustrations in Florida. While the Sunshine State is still drying out from last week's historic rainfall, it's the gas pumps that are really dry. CBS's Manuel Bojorquez tells us what's behind the shortage and how long it will last.
Tonight, some Fort Lauderdale drivers are still finding either long lines or empty pumps.
You're on E right now, you're in line, and you're hoping they still have gas by the time you get there.
Hoping to have it, or hoping that I don't have to push it in the last like 10, 20 feet there.
For some, the frustration has boiled over.
It's just kind of violent, like you hear. So hopefully we can get in and get out with no problems.
It's a distribution problem, a ripple effect from last week's historic flooding. High water and pump problems slowed the delivery of fuel from Port Everglades, which services 12 Florida counties. At one point today, more than half of Miami and Fort Lauderdale gas stations were without fuel, according to Gas Buddy. But with more deliveries resuming, the worst may be over.
It turned into a panic buying spree, which overwhelmed the system. Even a normally functioning system probably would not have been able to keep up. But I wouldn't say it's a shortage simply because there are millions of gallons of gasoline still waiting to be delivered at Port Everglades.
And tonight, Pat DeHaan with Gas Buddy says it could be about a week or so before things start to get back to normal. That's if people stop panic buying. Tonight, we're learning the Florida Department of Emergency Management is sending 500,000 gallons of fuel here to the southeast part of the state to help. Nora?
That is needed. Manny Bojorquez, thank you so much. Turning overseas, Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich made his first public court appearance today in Moscow. A Russian judge rejected an appeal from the American journalist to be freed from his pre-trial detention on espionage charges. The State Department says he is being wrongfully detained. CBS's Nancy Cordes reports his lawyers have vowed to keep fighting for his release.
Evan Gershkovich stood in a metal and glass cage with his arms folded, ahead of what the White House dubbed a sham judicial proceeding. He is in a combative mood, his Russian lawyer said. He is ready to defend himself.
Gershkovich was arrested and accused of espionage during a reporting trip in Russia last month.
Totally illegal what's happening.
The 31-year-old Wall Street Journal reporter was one of the few Western journalists left in Russia after Putin invaded Ukraine last year and began cracking down on free speech in his own country. The last American Russia accused of espionage, Paul Whelan, has been imprisoned for more than 4 years.
Have there been any substantive negotiations or even conversations about Evan between U.S. officials and Russian officials yet?
What I can say is that we are committed to getting Evan home, and we are committed to getting Paul Whelan home.
In a letter written in Russian, Evan reassured his parents that he is not losing hope. I read, I exercise, and I'm trying to write. His parents, who fled Russia for the U.S. in the late 70s, told the Wall Street Journal they are trying to be optimistic.
That's where we stand right now. But I am not stupid. I understand what's involved.
Russian officials have said they might be willing to discuss a potential prisoner swap, but only after Evan's trial is complete. And that trial is not scheduled to begin until late May at the earliest. So he'll remain in a former KGB prison, Nora, at least until then.
All right, Nancy Cordes at the White House, thank you very much. There are growing concerns over the safety of Americans inside the war-torn African nation of Sudan after a U.S. diplomatic convoy came under attack on Monday. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said preliminary reports indicate the attackers were linked to a paramilitary group fighting against Sudan's army for control of the country. CBS's Deborah Patta reports from the region.
A city of over 6 million people turned into this. As hostilities between two rival Sudanese generals exploded into all-out war. Gunshots rang out in residential areas, fighter jets thundered across apartment blocks, and Khartoum's international airport was engulfed in flames. And as usual, civilians were caught in the middle.
We're fine. We're safe. The power has been out. That was something. You know, it's like, I don't even know what it is anymore.
The U.S. has urged Americans in Khartoum to stay indoors. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said yesterday a clearly marked U.S. diplomatic convoy was fired on. Nobody was harmed, but in calls with both generals, he said the action was reckless and irresponsible.
I made very clear that any attacks, threats, dangers posed to our diplomats were totally unacceptable.
A 24-hour humanitarian ceasefire was supposed to start earlier tonight, but it has had little effect, and heavy gunfire could still be heard in the capital long after it was supposed to begin.
The State Department says contingency planning for U.S. personnel in Sudan is underway, but Nora, the airport remains closed and there are currently no plans to evacuate American civilians.
Deborah Patta, thank you. We want to turn now to the growing mental health crisis facing America's children. The most recent CDC data revealed a troubling trend that 3 in 5 teen girls felt persistently sad or hopeless. To get some advice for parents, we sat down with a top psychologist and the author of the new book, The Emotional Lives of Teenagers. Ishika Vij was just 12 when her anxiety started. After feeling the pressures of her schoolwork, Ishika developed an eating disorder.
Just being able to control how I look versus I thought, I wasn't worth enough or smart enough. So I was like, maybe I can be pretty enough, or I can, follow these norms that social media has set.
This is a different generation. Their ability to cope with things is way different. They're all resilient, but I think they're just exposed to a lot more things much earlier than we ever would have thought.
Lisa Damore is a clinical psychologist and mother of 2. She says parents should delay and limit their children's access to social media.
When girls are in distress, they tend to collapse